professor in Amrita School of Engineering at Coimbatore in the Aerospace Department. I'm also one of the organizers of this conference. Right, so we settle down. Right, so I would like to invite Professor Narayan Conference for delivering his talk about the purpose of the conference, and he was, as one of the chief organizers and driving force behind the conference, he would be best positioned to do that. And as it's customary, I have to give an introduction to Professor Narayan Conference. I will keep it brief. He's someone who has over 35 years of experience as a researcher and a teacher in aerospace engineering at the Georgia Institute of Technology, and has been passionately involved about technology and about finding India-specific solutions to many of the issues that we face. I'll let him speak on the rest of the things and not keep you waiting. Professor Congress, please.
Thank you. So yeah, we are back from lunch and much more relaxed. So I'm Narayan Conference. I'm a professor at the School of Aerospace Engineering at Georgia Institute of Technology in Atlanta. So 46 years ago, almost to the day, actually I think July 12th of 1973, I think I was sitting over there in the back end of the auditorium at the orientation for new undergraduates. Oh yes, D2, yes, that was already there. And so I only realized today that the reason I feel cold is not the conditioning, but the fear. I look around and I say, what have I got myself into this time? I look around, and that's the same feeling I get here. Look at all the distributed people gathered here and hearing all these things. The other thing I wanted to say is that, so the only way I could imagine being here and on this side of this auditorium is to actually organize a conference and put myself on the program so I could speak. So that's the purpose of the conference, but let us get serious about it. So you have already seen, this is what we are trying to do. Honor the memory of a pioneer, recognize how far India has come. So you won't hear much complaining in this conference except from me. The purpose is not to complain. We all read the newspapers and we all know a lot of the realities. The question is, how can we make things a lot better? So one thing they taught me at that orientation that still stays in my mind is that they said, the student body president of the time, 1973, said, you're all going to see a lot of things that will make you angry, but try to remember that it is, at the end of the day, it is better to try to light a lamp than curse the darkness. That's very hard for most of us to remember, but that is what we're trying to do. We want to see what can be done and at least collect the knowledge that exists, put it out there for people to see, and then hopefully in some fashion it will percolate and lead to positive change. And actually that works, that process works. It need not be the Prime Minister who starts, or eventually it does get to the Prime Minister. But today there is a successful model for grassroots initiative to succeed. And they need not be violent revolutions, but positive change. Okay? So with that, let me go on to the next step. Here's the problem. You read the Economic Times or you watch TV and see all these people in suits sitting around talking about a given narrative of India, about the GDP is going, is number 6 now and becoming number 5 soon and going to number 3 soon. And they talk in all these grand macroeconomic terms about great stuff. I get out in the streets and I see people, and that is a very different reality. So I have come to the realization that there are many realities that exist at the same time. Let me tell you one thing. So today, according to the government figures and everything, every village in India has an electric grid connection. It's a very good achievement. I believe it. I'm not saying that it is not true. But do you know how many people got up this morning in India with absolutely no access to electric power? What's your guess? 0? 300 million is the number that I used to use 2 years ago. Now I have cut it to 200 million to recognize the achievements of the government. But I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. You see? So, is it true? Both of these things are true. I think every village has an electric connection. The power line goes through. There is at least one point connected. That is the definition. But too many people simply cannot afford to get an electric connection, or if they get it, they cannot afford to pay the bill. I think the reality is the same with these gas connections. And I've seen some numbers on how many people actually went back and refilled the gas connection the first time and second time. You need money to do that. And they don't have disposable income in the villages. Okay? So I talked to many people in the course of preparation for this, and one person told me, oh, rural India is actually very happy, oh, they're very smart people. They just, I said, oh, so they pretend to be absolutely poor just to fool stupid people from America like me? I don't know. So there are different realities existing in India. But overall, I think there is a need for and an opportunity for huge change. So I want to speak about this. See, when I was a child in the 1960s, India was a famine country. What India was known around the world for is not the great hymns it is. People considered India to be a basket case country with famine and communal riots and this and that. This is the harsh reality. Okay? A lot of people have not changed from that still. That's their problem. Almost every once in 2 years you would hear about a terrible famine. A lot of people died of starvation. But by 1980, India was a net food exporter. Okay? So this kind of dramatic change was actually possible, and it was done. So then it shifted. See, again, when I was in college, we all, I don't know what there are no IIT undergraduates here, but we all had to go to mandatory NCC. You know, at the end of the day, after standing in the workshop for 8 hours, we had to go there and march around. And it was, let me put it this way, when it was over, we were very happy. Okay. But we did learn some skills. I can fire a gun, a rifle without breaking my collarbone. That is a big achievement. You did not wake up today worried that there would be a foreign invasion of India anymore. This is not on your list of concerns. Okay? That is a big change that occurred. That's many countries around the world where they cannot say that. So yes, of course, and I take credit for that. You know, my generation did help a little bit in achieving that, and that was one of the things that we dreamt of doing. Okay, we want to make India a strong country. Then the emphasis shifted to economic growth. I told you by 1990, India was practically broke. Balance of whatever for the debt was huge. But today, you know what is the situation? About a week back, I read in the Economic Times that India has a foreign exchange reserve of $434 billion. $424 billion. Okay, back in 2003. When was it? 1998, after this nuclear test, India went and launched a bond scheme. Because I think the foreign exchange was down to what, $1 billion? 1 billion. 1 week's worth left. So you see, there are huge changes. So today I say that the challenge for your generation, so in other words, you know, we have done all these things and turned India from a famine country to a superpower. Now it's your problem. But the remaining thing is this, sustainable growth. Okay, and I had the term energy independence there, but it goes beyond that. Okay. So yes, no, I think I don't need to say much because in the morning we said all these things. So yes. This is another aspect of modern India. Most people are used to this thing because they sit in front of computers all day. I don't actually. My wife won't agree with that. I sit on the computer to surf the net, not to do anything useful.
So this is the question that we ask. What will it take to achieve sustainable human development? And this is exactly what Prabhat Ranjan was talking about. The focus is on what will it take to make Indians happy, not India superpower. And so this is really what we are about. It is a very steep challenge, and let me tell you, it is really an ominous situation. Okay? People have money today, courtesy of the Prime Minister's schemes and the right to work and all these kind of things. People actually have money in their bank accounts. Okay, those zero balance 700 million or 300 million bank accounts that were started with zero balance, as the Prime Minister said, now have a huge amount of money in them. So the village people actually have money. What is going to happen next? Are they going to invest this? Or are they going to go out and buy on Amazon and buy all kinds of junk made in China or wherever it is? This is the most likely thing to happen. And then next day they'll throw it in the garbage or on the street, more likely. And India is going to become a huge garbage dump. Okay? How do we avoid this? This is as dangerous as this. Okay? So, to avoid this, we have to somehow spread the message that this money that you have will lead to more money, but only if you do something useful with it. Okay? And how do we, you cannot just go and teach somebody or to tell somebody overnight saying, oh, become a startup entrepreneur and become a billionaire. How do you do that? So I have, I laid out a matrix of all the problems. Child mortality, traffic, water, electric power, this, that, education. It's a really big mess. So where do you get started? And I came to the conclusion that energy is the starting point. If you have plentiful access to energy, then everything else can eventually be, even water, you can get, I think, today's newspaper or wherever, somebody sent me a link saying IIT Madras professors invent a way to get water out of the air. So apparently what they have done is basically an air conditioner which cools air and condenses water, but they made it much more efficient by sending it through some kind of nano membrane filament, I don't know these things, which mimics what leaves can do. So it's very, very, very smart technology. The critical component is energy. Without electric power, they cannot do anything with this. Okay? So I believe that energy is the root of all of these things, and I know the data are there. Per capita access to energy in India, so this is where this narrative about everything is fine breaks down. Per capita access to energy in India is about on par with Somalia or countries in Africa that you hear about. It is that bad. I may be higher than Pakistan, I don't know about that, but it's in that neighborhood, whatever. It is very poor. It is also concentrated in the urban areas. I mean, I was driving in from, getting somebody to drive me from the airport, and Chennai at 10 o'clock at night looks like midday. What electric power shortage? Okay, the LED bulbs and whatever it is, and nuclear power plants. There seems to be plentiful energy, but that is not the reality in the rural areas. Okay, that's the problem. And frankly, it scares me when I talk to some people in India, and I tell them that look, there are places where, oh, what do you mean? They don't have electric power in their villages? If you read books that we used to read I used to read books when we were children. I don't know if any of you do that anymore, but you read that in the French Revolution, they put out this social media rumor that the Queen had said, why are the peasants complaining that they don't have bread? Why don't they eat cake? So this was the rumor. I think it was a rumor, but it was a very effective one because it enraged a mob who came and arrested the Queen. Many of them died. Because they were shot by the police, but they dragged the Queen out and cut her head off. I think the attitude of many people in urban India today is worse than that. towards the people in their own country. Okay? They have no clue what goes on in the rural areas. The Chennai water crisis, we saw so much in the news about it. I don't recall seeing a single word written about the situation in the villages outside Chennai. Was it so much better? Did they have tanker trucks on demand? They could just call them up. Nobody even talks about them. You see this? So, this is where the real problem is. Okay, if we can, so I say that look, if we can break through, bring energy, at least those people can get on the internet and complain. Okay, and then they will not be ignored so much. So I think once we can break through the energy thing, we can get to all of those things. So let me go on. So here is what we eventually said. Look, how do we break out of this? And I am jumping through many years of worrying about this and arguing on internet fora. I think some of the people sitting here know amount of time wasted on these kinds of debates. So let me put it this way, that this is after discussions with literally tens of thousands of concerned Indians and others, that we came up with this idea that energy independence is really the first thing to do. Okay? And we think it's very easy actually. Do you know what it will take to bring 1 kilowatt of solar photovoltaic power to every single village in India? You can do the calculation, you're all smart people. 600,000 villages, 1 kilowatt. And I will tell you that 1 kilowatt, you can do the 1 kilowatt using a mixture of biogas and solar photovoltaic, and it will cost less than $500. I'm pretty sure, actually I think we've got quotes for $400 and we've done it. $500 per village, 600,000 villages, and every village will have 1 kilowatt of power, which is probably enough to have enough lighting and all these kind of things. If you calculate the amount of money, I don't want to do that calculation with you watching, but I think it's under $1 billion. That, if it were converted to a scam that somebody put in, it would not even get into the front page of the newspaper. It's a sorry way to look at it. Then why is it so difficult? Because it's difficult because you cannot simply go and put 1 kilowatt of power and expect anything to happen. Okay? It has to have a context built into it. What will they do with it? We actually had surveys done in villages in somewhere, in, I don't want to say which state, where people were asked, what will you do if you had electric power? Of course, they did not have electric power. That was a couple of years back. And they said, oh, we'll get lights. Good. And then if you had more power, oh, I want a fan. Oh, and of course I want to charge my cell phone. Everybody has cell phones, although they don't have electric power. They walk 10 miles to get their phone charged once, And then what? And I said, oh, I don't know. I want a television set so I can watch, whatever whatever she watches. What is that? The soap opera or serial. So, nobody said, I will get a power tool so that my father's arms won't ache so much from working. I will get a DC powered, whatever, sewing machine so that my mother's hands are not hurting. There is no clue that energy can be used to make wealth. And I'll give you one short number on that. A very athletic human being, like a good cyclist, tournament quality cyclist, can generate 125 watts. So that's 1/8 of a kilowatt for about 2 hours before they get totally tired. Okay? So how many kilowatt hours is that? It's something like 0.5 or something like that. That's all you can do in a day. 0.5 kilowatt hours. How much does that cost if it came through the wall? 10 rupees? 5 rupees? So that is the value of the energy that a human being alone can put out. Okay? Ultimately, if that's all that person has to make their living, this is all that they are going to be able to do. Whereas any of you using that, with the energy available, you can use 1 kilowatt hour or 10 kilowatt hour, whatever it is. You can generate unlimited wealth in that time. This is the disadvantage that rural India faces today because of the lack of energy. Okay, so this is why I am saying energy is really the first thing to fix. But how can you do this? So we said, look, and we went through, and initially it sounded very easy. Actually, somebody, very senior, actually retired IAS officer or IFS or whatever, when I was a friend, after he had had a few drinks at the Delhi Gymkhana, asked me, so Narayanan, if Prime Minister Modi gives you $1 billion tomorrow, what will you do? I said, I will give it back with all respect to the Prime Minister and say, please put it in a bank and give me a few rupees from the interest that is collected. Okay? This is not a problem that can be solved by just throwing money at it. It is a problem that has to be solved by, actually from the ground up. And that is one big thinking. So we looked at that and said, how do you get people to use the energy? How do you educate them? How do you do this? And we realized that this cannot be done by technology alone. Technology is not the problem. We have the technologies. But there's no way to go and just dump technology and expect anything. So we need to bring in the people who know how to deal with the villagers. We need to bring in the social scientists. Okay, I've dragged in some of my resources in social sciences. I don't understand a word that he says, but his presentation sounds very good. So we need all these people to give us context, and we need the people who know how to implement these things. So that is what led to this conference. We said, unless we can bring all these people together, and unless each of these can understand what the others are thinking and what is possible, we cannot move forward. So we formed what are called 5 working groups. And these groups have a changing membership. Some of the people there don't even want their names given because they are experts, but they don't want to give out enough to say who they are because whatever. But we've got fantastic input. We have generated drafts of 5 reports. They are ugly at this point, but they have a lot of information. Eventually they will become quite good. And so that is what we did. We said we want to see how to change India of today, where 67% live in the villages, but generate only 50% of the GDP. So you can work out that so they're not doing that great. The agriculture is at the mercy of the monsoons. We have all these problems, and we want to change it to a massively distributed, modern, post-modern actually, because no one else has done this. Diversified rural economy. That is probably over 75% of GDP, or maybe the GDP will go up to that 42 trillion or whatever Professor Prabhakaranjan talked about. Get it and renew the environment at the same time. This is what has not been shown anywhere in the world. Everywhere in the world, the equation is that if you want economic development, it happens at the expense of the environment. Okay? So people fight about each other. They say, you are an environmental extremist, you are a capitalist imperialist. We want to show that both of these things can go hand in hand. And I think it is possible. Okay? We want to make it such that people will move back from the cities to the villages because that's the best place to live. It has happened, I don't want to say this but I do. Chennai has actually had this happen. It turned out that IT companies told their people to sit at home and do the work. So I had to ask, hey, why isn't that a good model? Why don't you do that all the time? You need to come in where to show that you're still there. Even conferences can be done remotely. So why travel to the center of a city at all? So this model, I think, when people really need to do it, they are able to do it. So that is what we are trying to do in this conference. So that's why you see, we will see a lot more diversity of opinions and skills in the next 2 days. So here's my roadmap for energy. This is for energy self-reliance. And my interest, why am I doing this? I'm an aerospace engineer. I'm a techno geek. I told you, I think until 1998, I was a very peaceful aerospace researcher developing weapons of mass destruction. Peacekeeping. Why am I into this? I want to get to here. I want to get to the point where India is a hydrogen economy. And as it happens, we have somebody here who is actually planning to demonstrate this to see what happens. I want to see a total shift to hydrogen. Because I've done enough analysis to know that with hydrogen fuel, supersonic airliners become possible. So, you know, where you have to now sit for 9.5 hours in cramped seats, you can do it in 4 hours or something like that. Many things are possible if you can shift to hydrogen. But the moment you say that, I've heard all the negatives about it. But I think I want to see that happen. But it cannot happen overnight. So we have a roadmap, and it says we are not going to just go and give 10 megawatts to every village. We don't have the money for that. The people in the villages are going to generate that. Okay? How are they going to generate it? Because they have useful things to do there, which don't destroy the environment. So how do we manage to do that? And that is where the problems build up, and we think there are a lot of. So when people say villages, even now today, when people say village, whatever, they say, oh, we want to promote handicrafts. Handicrafts, yes, they have good skills, but those skills can be put to use in very high value products today. Okay? Handicrafts, I'm sorry to say, I'm a great fan of Indian handicrafts, but cheap, mass manufactured Chinese stuff is better. Okay? At the end of the day, if you want to put something up there, they make a good copy of it, it's a better value. You can't compete there. So we need to think in terms of what else can be done in the villages. So this is what we want there. And I think so I want total energy independence. I won't show the chart that I've shown Rajiv in the past. When I left the IIT in 1978 and bought a ticket to go to the United States, $1 bought 6 rupees. Today, what does $1 buy? 68, 69, 70? And I think the Economic Times would tell you that this is a great thing. Because it's a great thing if you live in a city. Apparently, your exports are cheaper, etc., etc. But consider the person who sits in the village and gets money from agriculture. So then they tell me, oh, it's great, purchasing power parity. You can get a meal for, 100 rupees, which is only $1.50 in America, and you need $10 to buy the same thing. So what that means is that the person who makes the food only gets that much. You see, they're stuck in an economy with no hope, and so the gap between the rich and the poor is just expanding. One day they will all come with pitchforks to the city. Okay, so we need to act before that happens. So anyway, that was the, oh my goodness, what happened there? So that is the first group that is going to meet this afternoon. The second one is the other extreme. We say, look, while we are doing this, we want to actually renew Mother Earth, not reduce pollution, reverse pollution. Okay, we think this can be done. So I won't talk much about it because I don't know much about it, but there are people who know. Vertical agriculture, yes, vertical farming. It's very energy intensive. You can't do that. It needs a lot of capital. Until you have a lot of energy and money, you cannot do it. If you have, then you become free of the monsoons and all these things to a great extent. Water use is made much more efficient. So a lot of things can be done. The third one is, of course, my favorite group. It's what can be done by technology. And we saw a lot from Professor Prabhatranjan's. I didn't go nearly that adventurous. I don't think I want to get on that Hyperloop. I'll tell you that. First of all, it looks like a very small tube, and I don't think I want to sit in that. Anyway, but I think there are a lot of technologies that people just don't know about or might not know about, and we have those described in these documents. I just put up the whatever ugly version of that report on the internet website this morning. Okay. The fourth group was actually set up at the instigation of Dr. Nivedita Haran here, and she asked the question. We have a lot of research. Why is it that the implementation is not so good? What happens? What can we do to bridge the gap between these? And along with that, we are saying, okay, what can we do with technology to do that, and various other things. One of those things is that famous river linking map. So this, I am going to use a moment to complain about this. We are interested in this river interlinking for a variety of reasons. So I investigated this. And I asked somebody, what has been done on this? And he sent me this map. So I said, oh great. So there must be hundreds of such maps all over the websites. And I went and checked the internet, and yes, there were hundreds of sites showing that Same map, developed in 1981. I cannot see, maybe the versions done after that are secret, but I cannot find them. I think I can guess what happens. But yeah, so that's this question of implementation. Number 5 is probably the most nearest to reality, and I think our thinking is exactly on target. We think that Ayurveda, modern Ayurveda, so we have some people coming in to tell you what they practice every day. They are practicing Ayurvedic physicians. They want to tell you the realities of modern Ayurveda, what it is. Okay, and we want to see how to do this. We see the Ayurveda combined with child care as the first point of contact in the villages, and ultimately that can connect by telemedicine or whatever to all over the world. It's not that difficult. Okay, so these are the 5 groups of this. It can be done in urban areas, of course, yes. But I'm saying that this is, see, the Ayurveda can go to the remote villages also. And yeah. So they have a lot of discussion on this. I know you hate the term pilot projects, but the version that I changed that did not make it. We have done some projects on this. We've tried out what happens in the reality. So this is my great claim, if I die tomorrow, this is all I've done in my life. I was responsible for making sure that 55 villages in Tamil Nadu, about a total of 1,600 students are going to be cursing me, and they have been cursing me for the past year and a half, because there's no more, no school today because no power. Okay, they have solar photovoltaic power because of us. We did make this happen. It was very easy. Okay, but then we failed. Because we said, okay, first step is we put up 200 watts, 100 watts, whatever, solar power, and that enables the children to study for 3 hours in the evening. So we said, in the daytime they're getting all this solar power, they can use it to nothing, because we haven't succeeded in making that step yet. If we break through there, that is a model that we think can be taken to 600,000 villages. We did demonstrate one thing very interesting. So the 55 got done, we got 1 done, took a long time. The 2 happened several months later. 3, 4, 5 happened within about a month. The next 50 happened in the next month or 2. Why? Because the first one was used to train 2 installers. The second and third and all these, we were training installers, so we demonstrated what is called geometric progression in arithmetic. We can do this all over the but why don't we go forward? Well, we don't have enough money yet. But if I had, I wouldn't do it, because we are not able to demonstrate that wealth generation part of it. Okay, and until we can, it doesn't make sense to go forward. So that is actually working. So in summary, this is what we would like to achieve. See, our traditional, I come from Kerala, and the most famous song there is about Maveli Nadu Vanidum Kalam, the time when Maveli ruled the land. And it's all about how great it was. So I try to remember all the words in there. Nowhere does it say that people were wealthy. It didn't say that everybody is a billionaire. Wealth is not even mentioned. They mention all these other human development indicators. Child mortality is unknown. People are honest. So all these kind of things are there. That is actually our traditional model of whatever, prosperity, well-being and all these kind of things. So I think we can do that. So I say that, look, the UN Sustainable Development Goals are exactly along these lines. So I think there's an opportunity for us. This is our time for revolutionary progress. So that's all I have to talk about, and I think we have, is Professor Junjunwala here? Oh, sorry, sir. Okay, yeah. So we will. I think I can hold off questions to the break time and invite Professor Junjunwala. His time is very valuable, and let me bring him here. So he doesn't need any introduction at the IIT Madras. He's actually probably better known outside India than inside India. I think he's famous for putting up a slide showing the reality of rolling blackout in India, and he shows a screen apparently that is totally black.
And he changed that to something where it's not that anymore and people don't even realize that there is a problem. So yes, let me please say.
Rather a small audience. Can we think of what's the background of this audience? College students? From which discipline? All disciplines. Okay. So I'll keep that in mind. I'm going to talk about electric vehicle. Goes along with sustainability. And I'll actually talk about electric vehicles in India. What it does to India. And I think today you must be all hearing about it. A lot of items in the news about electric vehicles every day. Suddenly it has become a craze. Let me illustrate what has been done, what can be done, what are the problems, and how we can make a difference. This is a slide that I borrowed from Dr. Prabhjot Kaur. Air quality. I don't know how many of you know that 14 of the 20 most polluted cities in the world are in India. This number is increasing. I'm told now it is 15, but I'm not sure. 36% of NOx emission in Delhi was due to vehicles in 2016. And 20% of PM 2.5 emission in Delhi was due to vehicles. So one can go on and on. Our cities are extremely polluted. In fact, towns are even more polluted. And gradually it is going to rural areas. And one of the key reasons for this is auto sector, automotives. That is what's happening. What is this? Second, since we use oil, we are pretty much importing everything. The amount of money that we spend on this is import bill year after year is 600 or 700 billion rupees. 700 billion rupees, if you don't like billion, will come to 700 into 100. So 70,000 crore rupees we spend yearly on imported petrol. And we are forever dependent. We are not going to overcome this. And this number is increasing. This was 2 to 3 years back. The numbers have gone up. So if you look from both point of view of pollution and our import bill due to oil, it's very clear that we will be looking for alternatives. Fortunately, even though we import most of its oil and it's impacting economy badly, our cities are polluted. Electric vehicle, you have heard about electric vehicle. It can get rid of complete pollution. We no longer will emit anything. Number 2, we don't need to import oil. Number 3, in terms of sheer energy efficiency, electric motor is 4 to 4.5 times more energy efficient than a petrol engine. And it has much less moving part. As opposed to in a car, typical car, we have 2,000 moving parts, we have only 20 to 30 moving parts in electric vehicle. So basically wear and tear is much better, will be much less. So what's the problem? Actually the concept of electric vehicles is not new. We could have possibly started long back. The key difference is the energy density of the fuel. Petrol is one such material which packs a lot of energy in 1 liter. And in a small volume, it can pack enough energy, you can drive 300, 400 kilometers. The carriage for petrol doesn't cost much. Electricity, if you want to put in the car, you have to put a battery. And that battery is expensive. Battery is big. Battery is high weight. The energy density of the battery is very bad. Yet, one thing that happened over the last several years is the cost of battery started falling. This is a per kilowatt hour. per unit of electricity. The cost was 2012 $600. It is now coming more like $120, $130 and going down below 100 in coming years. What does it mean? That at least cost part, and not just cost, the size and weight of batteries are becoming something that one can potentially use. Now, just for example, when I started working on electric vehicles about 4 years back, the batteries that you could get is what is called 100 watt-hour per kg. So in 10 kg, one can get 1 unit of electricity. This has gone to 150, it has gone to 200, 250, and recently somebody announced that they are producing 300 watt-hour per kg. What does it mean? It means you use less amount of material to smaller size, less weight. Less amount of material means cost going down. So the battery cost is going down because of R&D which is making in batteries having higher energy density. With something like $100 or so, suddenly the whole thing will become extremely viable. Today, where we are still looking at $150 or so, the electric vehicle in for a large battery in a car will make a car 1.5 to 1.7 times. And I'm not talking about car, one can talk about two-wheeler, it will be a similar situation, three-wheeler, it will be a similar situation. So the biggest bottleneck is the cost of the battery, the weight of the battery, size of the battery, and that is what makes electric vehicle unviable. If it is unviable, are people not using it? No. This is one of the most interesting things. Worldwide, and worldwide basically I mean United States, in Europe, in China, in many other countries around, there is a subsidy provided by of 30 to 40%. And that 30 to 40% subsidy pretty much brings electric vehicle cost on par with the this. So as long as you can provide 30 to 40% subsidy, there is really no problem. And all these countries are racing. China, for example, is racing ahead like anything. They are developing technology, they are developing new batteries, all these things is going on. India, on the other hand, even though the problem is very severe, we probably will have the maximum to benefit from electric vehicles. We have two things. One is low affordability. Our two-wheelers are at 40,000-50,000 rupees. Our small cars are at 4 lakh rupees, 400,000 rupees. Nobody else in the world makes 400,000 rupees car. Why is this 400,000 rupees? Because that's at which the volume purchase takes place. At low affordability, and number two, our government cannot afford to give the kind of subsidy that is being given. So with some limited subsidy and battery cost being around 50% of the time, we are stuck. If you just say, let the world keep on moving and we will follow, it will be about 4 to 5 years down the line, we will be able to start making our cost comparable. But in 4 to 5 years, what is going to happen is that all the technology would have been developed in China, Europe, United States, and other countries, will be just be importing. So instead of paying for oil, we'll be paying for all kinds of other technology. This is a big challenge. We need it badly. We have a very, very robust auto sector. 7.2% of our GDP comes from auto sector. And another 5% comes from the petrol processing and distribution. So 12% GDP can get impacted if our auto sector gets hurt. And if we don't do anything, as electric vehicles come, whole thing will get disrupted, impact our jobs badly, impact our economy badly. On the other hand, if we can do things, we can really gain in terms of our GDP, gain in terms of our getting rid of pollution, gain in terms of not having to import oil. Huge benefit is there. Problem is, obviously it looks like we cannot do it. And this is where the challenge is. So basically, whenever situation, and this is where technologists or scientists and those entrepreneurs comes in. innovators come in, that use a different approach. Don't just do what is being done elsewhere. If you do what is being done elsewhere, you have a disadvantage. Turn that disadvantage into advantage. So this is what my talk is going to be. What can be done or what is being done. It is not can be done, and what will happen with this to India. So for example, another slide that I have taken from Dr. Kaur, if you look at India's vehicle is very different. It is not the same as vehicles in the United States or Europe. For example, almost 80% of our vehicles are two-wheelers. Nowhere else in the world. I mean, nowhere else in the world, in countries, in European countries or China or United States, etc. 4 to 5% are three-wheelers. So we actually have two-wheelers and three-wheelers country. We also have cars, but even in the cars, we have 12% of the car, 12% of total vehicles are cars which are under 1 million rupees, under 10 lakhs rupees. And only 3%, 2% cars are expensive cars. 2% cars are similar to the cars that is there in the United States and Europe and China. So they are talking about Tesla. Basically these 2%, these cars are bought by extremely rich people. They don't care. Like for example, I don't know how many of you have seen today's newspaper announcement that a new car has been launched by Hyundai at 25 lakhs rupees per car. No. There are people who can afford 25 lakhs. I don't think anybody in this audience can. But they are the people, and we remember that we are on the upper cream of the society, not the middle class or not the lower. But there are people who can. And let them, that is fine. But the rest of the people are in two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and on small four-wheelers. So this is a very peculiar thing about India. Can we start forgetting about that? Can we start thinking about two-wheeler, three-wheeler, and four-wheeler, and talk about how to electrify that? What is the challenge of electrifying that? So one of the things that I will point out from the previous talk, I know Prabhat Ranjan, I know I missed his talk, the kind of thing is that if we just think of the problem in a different pattern, and that's what Abdul Kalaam was champion of, we can actually find solutions. So India's vehicles are different than the rest of the world. 98% are what I call affordable vehicles. Public and affordable vehicles, not the focus of the rest of the world. It is here, in electrification of these vehicles, can we get the leadership. If we can get the leadership, those 2% vehicles do not matter. We can just copy what is being done, we can follow, we can try to do, basically what is the approach? Tesla. If you talk about electric vehicle, the name that comes out to your mind is Tesla. Large battery, it can go 600 kilometers. Expensive, probably 60, 70 lakhs, 80 lakhs without subsidy. Fast charging, you can go to a fast charging station and can charge in 15 minutes. And price is high. Now there are probably a few people in the country who can afford that. Let them get that. We use the same approach. We don't try to do. Rest of the business, our business by and large, is built on this, and let us focus on this. And this is what I'm going to talk about. So let's look at a different approach. First approach is something that emerged from a small meeting that we had with CXOs of about 50 to 60 companies. And we asked a question. Let's look at three-wheeler. We asked the question, what is your battery size? How much energy you use per kilometer? How much watt hour per kilometer? What is the question that we have? Just like a very similar question, how much petrol per liters of petrol per kilometer, or how many kilometers per liter? We are asking the same question. What is the amount of energy that you require per kilometer, or how many kilometers can you go if you are given 1 kilowatt hour of energy? And auto people came and said that we today can do it at 70 to 80 watt hour per kilometer, which basically means in 1 kilowatt hour only 12 kilometers. We asked the question why. People say, well, this is what the energy required is. I say, is this the energy required because you've done fundamental calculation and so much of energy is required to move 1 kilometer? Or is it something that you are getting? They say, well, this is what we are getting. I said, why can't you get 40 to 50, 40 watt hour per kilometer? Why can't you go 20 kilometers in a kilowatt hour or even more? People said impossible. And what's the benefit? I said, we'll come to the benefit, but can you get there? For a long time, people said, well, no, probably we cannot. Till a youngster from a startup sort of saying, sir, I was able to get 48 watt hour per kilometer with my motor. I did that. And I think I'm perfecting it, I can actually demonstrate that. Immediately, those TVS motors and Bajaj, everybody started sort of saying, and most people sort of say, well, I think we, instead of 80, we can go to 65, 60. But beyond that, it will be more difficult. But since there were startups which were saying, oh, we can go below 50, we put a target of 45 to 50 watt hour per kilometer. And I'm very glad to say, today we have some 8 or 10 three-wheelers which we are testing at IIT Madras, and all of them have under 50 watt hour per kilometer. Now this is something that the Indian engineers, with minimal help from academia, was able to achieve. This is our capability. What does it do? If you are using, instead of 80, you are using, let's say, 40 watt hour per kilometer, you are using half the energy. Using half the energy, what does it mean? Battery size goes down by half. Battery size goes down by half, your cost of battery goes down by half. In this case, we are able to achieve 45 to 50, we went down by 35 to 40%. So people were complaining about that we need large subsidy, same as the subsidy that is in the West. Somebody sort of say, well, probably we don't need that large a subsidy once something like this is there. Then we ask the next question. Even instead of using this much battery, which is still 60% of the original battery, why can't you split it and give small battery? People say, but it will go limited range. I say, so what? Let it go limited range. Let an auto go 50 kilometers. So what will happen after 50 kilometers? Will we wait and charge? And charging takes half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour. No, we have passengers. Nobody will like to do that. We said, well, what if you do not wait to charge, but you swap the battery? You take out the old battery and put a new charged battery. I said, well, that's not what is done. I said, all of us use, what do we use for cooking? Gas cylinders. We don't bring a pipe to every home. We use gas cylinder. That's not what is done in the rest of the world. We developed those gas cylinders, took care of all the safety aspect, and today the whole country is running on that, or most of the country, significant part of the country, including many parts of the villages, are using that gas cylinder. Works out much less expensive compared to the pipe gas. I said, why can't we have batteries? Just swap the battery. After some time, people said, engineering challenge. Yes, it is an engineering challenge. But then engineering challenge is what we are good at. Let's get together, tighten our belt and solve it. There is no fundamental challenge anymore. What will happen? Your battery size will go down, your cost will go down. Significantly. Instead of this big battery that we started with, now we are going to use 1/5 of the battery. Your cost comes down. You don't need that subsidy. Since everybody in the West uses this size of battery, let them use it. Let us look at it differently. In fact, while we are looking at it and doing it, by now, lots of people are doing it in India, nowhere else in the world. People still, our bureaucrats often don't believe, but nobody else in the world has done it. They still ask the question. But I said, walk out and see people have done it. Nobody else in the world has done the gas cylinder. Same opposition had come at that time. People talked about safety issue. Well, there is more safety issue if you carry a cylinder, but we perfected it. We overcame it. That's where the engineering challenge comes up. There was a yet very, very important thing, which at that time we had not even realized. Batteries, the lithium-ion batteries that we are talking about, operate best at 25 degrees centigrade. Between 15 to 30 degrees they work well. Anything above, they start hurting, below it starts hurting. Unfortunately, in India, temperature goes to 45. And why 45? If things continue the way it has touched 49 this year in Delhi. What happens to that battery when it is being charged or discharged at 45 degrees Celsius? Nobody knows. All the data is from the west, where the temperature is 25 plus minus 10 degrees, occasionally going a little bit more, occasionally, and then they will use cooling. Now, one other thing that came, that if you are in this situation and outside temperature is 45 degrees Celsius, you came and parked your three-wheeler and you run out of battery, you swap the battery, take the discharge battery, bring it to the air-conditioned environment and charge it. You are charging at 25 degrees centigrade. You cool the battery while charging. It is possible because you are using swapping. If it was a fixed battery, you couldn't have brought the auto out here. That's a big advantage. Suddenly, the problem of people are talking about we need to design batteries, new kind of chemistry which can run at 45 degrees centigrade. It's a much more difficult job. And people are trying but not getting anywhere. Costs may go up. This is much simpler solution. It can solve the problem immediately. Only problem, nobody else in the world has done it. And we in India have stopped believing that we can be the first. We can only follow. We have stopped believing in ourselves, stopped believing in our abilities. And that is what I learned from Abdul Kalaam. I knew him quite well, that believe in yourself, think differently. So, if you're swapping battery, then this whole charging infrastructure that people talk, electric vehicle will not happen because there is no charging infrastructure. But now you don't need charging infrastructure. You charge at your home, and when you're swapping battery, it's a swapping system which will require the infrastructure. They will set it up. They will lease the battery to you. We are talking about a new business getting created. In addition to vehicle business, we have an energy business, like LPG operator. That person will buy the battery, take the small battery now, will pay for the capital cost. You don't even have to pay the capital cost. It will be leased out to you. A charged battery will be leased out to you. Discharged battery will be taken out from you. Problem will be solved. And if you do that, then there is no difference between that. Our capital cost is similar to the capital cost of a petrol vehicle. Today, our operation cost is same or less than that of petrol. And everyone makes money. You can create huge business. This is what is possible in public vehicles. So public vehicles, I'm talking about it, where it's a three-wheelers, does not mind stopping, or a big bus. Same thing about a big bus. Going from one end of the city to another. City buses. 30 kilometers at most. What if it swaps battery at both ends? You don't need a 300 kilometer battery. We are trying to import buses from China with huge 300 kilometer battery, and our 40 lakhs rupees bus which comes from Ashok Leyland and Tata Motors and Eicher in India today are starting to cost 2.5 crores, 3 crores, because we are getting 300 kilometer. If we get a 30 kilometer battery bus, then there is no problem at all. The approach is different, thinking is different, suddenly whole thing. It will be a lot of engineering challenge. But actually, if you have time, you go around our battery center and you'll see that those engineering challenges has been overcome of a bunch of 120, 130 people working here in IIT Madras. If we add all the other efforts that can go on in the country, we can really make a difference. Now, once people understood, someone saying, yes, this is all right for a public vehicle. But for my car, for my two-wheeler, what do I do? What can I do? Let's talk about first a car. In a car, batteries dominate the cost of the car. Tesla does it at 540 kilometers. Battery, huge battery. Very inefficient, extremely expensive. As I pointed out, if you use smaller battery, it will create a range anxiety. I've already talked about it. I don't want to repeat it. So while we talk about smaller battery, Tesla is just opposite. Tesla is 600 kilometer battery. We are talking about 80 kilometer, 100 kilometer battery. So suppose, and recognize one more interesting thing. This is a very, very interesting data, again I got from Dr. Kaur, about what is the average distance that a car travels. And you see that actually 71% of trips are less than 5 kilometers. 16% of trips are less than 10 kilometers. On a day, 95% of the time in a city, you travel less than 80 to 90 kilometers. Only 5% of the time you may travel longer distance. Well, utilize this simple fact. Suppose we have a small, in my car, I have a 100 kilometer battery. And I'm not talking abstract, actually I've been driving an electric car for the last 4 years now. It has a 100 kilometer battery. It's standing outside. 100 kilometer battery. 95% of the time means 19 out of 20 days, I really don't have to worry because I don't travel longer than that. But about 15 days a year, I said, I wish I could go longer distance. Or I cannot take my car from here to Bangalore because immediately I will be worried that 300 kilometers, how can I travel? I can travel only 100 kilometers. But 90 to 95% time, I don't have to worry. Well, that's not good enough. Your car should be able to take you what you want to do. So for those 90 to 95% days, all these days, what I do is that I have a very simple 15 ampere plug point. That's a 15 ampere plug point. I think, well, this is not a 15 ampere plug point. This is a 5 ampere plug point, but all of you have seen 15 ampere plug point. Probably that is a 15 ampere plug point. Now, I have a 15 ampere plug point at my home, in my garage, and I simply plug the car and overnight it charges. 6 hours it charges. You don't need to do anything more than that. That is what you do 99 all the days. So 100 kilometers per day is no problem. Problem is when you want to go more than 100 kilometers. Well, for that, I designed a second battery. I designed a vehicle with the ability to carry a second battery. I just leave the space, empty space. The day I need to travel longer distance, I know that I have to travel longer distance, or I'm running out of my battery, which I had charged overnight, I just drive to say a petrol station, say BPCL petrol station, Bharat Petroleum. Now suppose we have signed up with them and they have another battery which is 100 kilometers and they say they will swap it in and the car just has to have that space. So this is called range extender battery. I take another 100 kilometer battery only when I need it. I rent it from BPCL. I take it from BPCL, rent it, after usage return it to BPCL. That's all that I have to do. I don't have to buy that battery. So my car is only with 100 kilometers. And with 100 kilometers, I can make a car with about 8 to 9 lakhs rupees. Second battery, I don't need. I need it only when I need it, I just go and rent it out. So, at the swapping time is 3 to 5 minutes. It doesn't take more than that. What if I want to drive more than 200 kilometers? I'm driving from here to Bangalore. Well, I start with my fully charged battery, overnight charge. I add a BPCL battery, or a petroleum battery, in the car and start driving. After about 100 150 kilometers, I'll stop for a cup of tea. I'll stop at a BPCL station where they will take out the used battery. By that time, that battery that I had leased would have run out. They would take it out and put another 100 kilometer battery. Now I can go 300 kilometers. If I need more, I can swap once again. So range extender battery. I don't need public parking place. All that I need is a 15 ampere plug point for my parking. Why will it not work? Well, this is not true only for the car. I can do a two-wheeler. Two-wheeler, I get it with 50 kilometer range. Those who drive two-wheelers, you drive 20 kilometer, 25, 30, 35. Rarely do you drive more than 50 kilometers. The day you need to drive more than 50 kilometers, you go and lease a battery which will be fitted in. All that you need is 2 slots for a battery. One, your normal, fixed, another is a swappable range extender battery. We don't need public charging space. We can do this in 3 to 5 minutes, not wait. The day you have to travel longer, 3 to 5 minutes, waiting, stretching out, getting a battery swap is no problem. So think differently and you have a solution. For this AC charging point, if I've come to my office, I just need a 15 ampere plug point, and if I'm doing it in a public place, a 15 ampere plug point with a meter, costs about 5,000 rupees to make and install. And 5,000 rupees, and any time I use that for charging, I pay the cost of electricity plus 10 rupees. Even if one vehicle is charged in a day, it is 3,650 rupees. 5,000 rupees investment, 3,650 return in a year, anybody will just put it all over. We don't have a problem of this whole charging infrastructure. Every day somebody keeps on repeating charging infrastructure, and therefore we should wait for electric vehicles. We have things ready. For premium vehicles, Tesla or today's Hyundai, they can be used larger battery. No, we shouldn't say no. Less range anxiety. I don't have to do any of these things. I'll just charge it, or I'll use some fast charging infrastructure. I can be like the West. I can behave like them, talk like them, and enjoy my car like them. Let them do that. Why should the rest of us have to do this? For long distance buses also, I'll say their approach is good. You put a 300 kilometer battery, but long distance bus every day will be going long distance, so that will pay for itself. We can work out economics. I have a blog which works out economics, and this will work out quite nice. There is really no problem. Well, so we are not talking empty. This is a trial that is going on in IIT. There are these vehicles, there are 15, 20 vehicles. For last 1 year, we have been running it on campus, testing them, testing motor, testing all kind of battery, testing vehicles from different kind, and it is fairing children, it is fairing staff, all kinds of people. And what is most important in today's day, we monitor everything and put the data in the cloud. Every battery, every second we get the data. What is the temperature? What is the voltage? What is the current? Is there a risk? Is there a safety concern? We take it all the data. We have 250 million data points from IIT itself, and we can do analysis. Where are the problems? How can I improve the battery? How can I ensure the battery life is maximized? This is going on. So this part I'm summing up. There's a technology part I will come in. Focus on small vehicle, use smaller battery when possible, use battery swapping, range extension, in addition to slow charging. For larger battery premium vehicles, you can use fast charging, no problem. And here, of course, this question will come: how soon can we do that? Is there a charging infrastructure ready? Let that be. Let's focus on 98%. Let's 2% let the world go on its own way. Some subsidy, for example, lower tax. We have made this in this budget GST of 5%. That will help. Some FAME subsidies there. All this will be done. The most important thing is make in India. Because only when you make in India, every sub-segment, can our jobs be retained, and we can manage things. And this is what I'm going to talk next. So technology tasks. Designed and made in India to drive costs down and make AV affordable. And this is a more of a technology one. All of you may not be interested. I thought that there will be enough technology people, so I put that together. Actually R&D tasks, what is needed. And I'm talking about tasks that we need to do in 3 to 4 years. So of course, we have just said that we need the most energy efficient vehicle. Now, most energy efficient vehicle just does not come like that. We have to actually make it. We have to make that, it will require R&D. Better motor and drive, powertrain it is called, better tires, lower weight, and better aerodynamics. We need battery to make battery ourselves. We don't want to import battery. And it consists of pack manufacturing, cell making, materials and chemicals, and we need to make charging and swapping infrastructure. I talked about it. So what does it require? What all R&D is required? Drivetrain, motors and controllers, distributed motors, DC-DC converters, and battery chargers and battery swapping systems. Electrically driven power steering. See, today power steering all of us use, it's actually hydraulic driven. And we won't have hydraulics. So we have to create small electric motors. Electrically driven. That's a technical challenge, but something that we can actually make in 1 year's time. power brakes, air conditioning systems. Air conditioning will be electrically driven. Today it is hydraulic driven. So different. Each of these subsystems we have to develop ourselves. Battery packs and cells, I will talk more about it. Materials, lithium, manganese, cobalt. Materials for lightweighting. Now it's possible. We don't need this. We are not putting heavy engines, so we can lightweight our vehicles. Better insulation to reduce heat load. One of the biggest problems is you sit in a car is parked in the sun. When you get in, significant amount of energy goes in just cooling. And this electric vehicle is going to hit you more. Can we do something about it? Better tires, better aerodynamics, vehicle software. Future technology, hydrogen fuel cell, better chemistry, handling 45-degree battery chemistry, grid integration. So there are lots of tasks that I'll put, and I'll go into some of them. Motors and controllers, efficiency at all velocities. One of the big problems when I bought my car and started using, it was supposed to give me 90 to 100 kilometers. I was driving and I was saying, well, it is giving me only 80, 75. I did it. I was on the board of the company, Mahindra Electric, and the car came from there. I was heading the technology committee. So the whole car was built under my guidance, and I purchased the car number one. And now who do I blame? Something is wrong. I called up those engineers, they tested out everything, saying, sir, everything is perfect. Something you are doing wrong. And I tried and tried, finally tired. I said, well, here's my laptop, I'll connect everything and monitor while I'm driving. I suddenly found that when I drive on the campus where we are driving, I drive at 20 kilometers, 25. Those big bumps that are there, you can't even drive faster. And once I saw that, then the energy efficiency is very poor. So I told them, I found out the reason. At 50 kilometer energy efficiency is good, but I don't drive 50 kilometers. Well, you don't drive 50 kilometers in IIT campus, but you don't drive 50 kilometers even in Adyar or anywhere in the city. Nowhere in Chennai. In Bangalore, you will drive even slower. So I said, where have you tested? So we have tested in the empty speed track where we drove at 50 kilometers or above and everything was working all right. But see, in real roads, it won't work. Nowhere in the country. Everywhere you drive slow. So, and what happens when you drive slow? The efficiency of the motor is optimized at 50 kilometers per hour. It was a German motor, some German engineer designed it. And when we called him, he said, well, average driving speed is 50 kilometers per hour. More or less the minimum. I said, that may be in Germany. That's not so in India. So we have to redesign motor which have a flat efficiency all the way from 20 kilometers to 60 kilometers. A big technical challenge. But something that our engineers are quite capable of taking it, and something that engineers in the rest of the world least care about. Here comes the Indian problem and Indian solution. And some of us have been working on it more. Another problem, there are different kinds of motor. And they use, today the best motors are the ones which use a permanent magnet, niobium based. All the niobium, most of the niobium comes from China. Are we going to forever depend on China? And that's where my colleagues tell me, there are new techniques that are emerging. More signal processing, more software, some amount of hardware, where I can get rid of magnet, or I can make the magnet extremely small. Well, that's our challenge. That is something that we should become leaders in. High volume, low cost, cheaper than imported. Today, China is dumping. Every e-rickshaw that you see on the road, every part has come from China. Of course, at a very low cost. We need to develop technology which can compete with them. Better quality, equal or lower cost. This is the challenge. And this is a challenge that you have to give to young engineers. And at the research park, I wish you were at the research park, you should see there are hundreds of companies that we have created, and give them the challenge and do that in meeting. They work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, on and on, fail many times. The only thing that we have learned to teach them, don't get scared of failing. Just try again. Don't give up. This is the only thing, and this, fortunately, Indians are, young Indians particularly, who don't talk big, but are ready to put down there. Of course, they They want good returns when they succeed. Let them get good returns. Fine. We are creating a whole generation of entrepreneurs. Do visit Research Park while you are here. You will see a totally, just your walk or no, take any vehicle. It's about 1 kilometer from here. Connected with the campus, and it is something that will change your mind what can be created. And we have to create things like this where something like this could work. And it is motors and controllers, and I don't want to get into details of it. Power electronics is the key. Power electronics is the key. Just like I am a communication engineer, not a power electronics, I know nothing about it. At one point in time, India used to wait for 8 years to get a telephone. I have waited for 8 years to get a telephone at my home. And at that time, our group, I myself, Bhaskar Ramurthy, Professor Timothy Gonzalez, took up a challenge that we will make India's telephones so inexpensive and get 100 million telephones. And we will go wireless. Everybody laughed at us. We did that. We built the first wireless in local loop in the country. And today we have 1 billion mobile phone, wireless phone. We solved that problem. Same, but communication was a big thing. We took communication to every village, everywhere, data speeds. What is not done is this kind of thing, where power electronics is going to play the same role as communication and signal processing did 25 years back. And this is where we need skills, lots and lots of engineers. Fortunately, we have large number of engineers, not good training in power electronics, not even in IITs. It is here we have to bring. We need all kinds of converters, battery chargers, on board, off board. I made a list of things that India would require to develop, and would not require to develop in 20 years, in 2 years, 3 years. Because in 3 years' time, either we develop and sell it up, or China will export. China is already doing this. This is a challenge. Battery swapping system, bulk chargers, and almost everything you will see, somebody or other is developing at IIT Madras itself. And all kinds of management software. AI is getting into it. Like those 250 million data points, you can't analyze for it. But there is AI, good AI tools available. People who are experts, youngsters which are 25 years old, 23 years old, are doing that work and figuring out what needs to be done. As I told you, power brakes, power steering, air conditioner, we are used to that. All of them was hydraulic. So tomorrow we'll have to make it electrically driven, and then we'll have to design everything accordingly. The battery chemistry, I could get into this, but there are these two chemistries which are winning, NMC and NCA. NCA used by Tesla, NMC used by most of the world. And the reason they are winning is, look at them, they are touching 300 plus watt-hour per kg. Anything that does not touch, that's stuck here, will never win. Most of the world recognize that. China says anybody who doesn't touch 300 watt-hour per kg will not get any subsidy. Unfortunately, in India, we say, oh, let's go and get electric battery. Theoretically, there is a limit of 150 watt-hour per kg. We don't even take simple decisions wisely. A simple thing, because it is stuck, it will never, cost will never go down. And there are enough people who are ready to dump their old technology at practically no cost. There are Chinese factories which know they have to shut it down. They are new factories. They're saying, take it, we'll not charge, we'll charge very little. Even very little out of a totally obsolete factory is good. And we are falling in trap. That's where the scientist technologies come in. Unfortunately, not enough voice. We don't have people like Abdul Kalaam who would have gone and explained it. At least he would have stood up and people would have listened. What about battery manufacturing? I'm going to import everything. So there are 3 parts to battery manufacturing. One is battery pack development, 30-35% value add. It actually requires very good mechanical design, battery management system, and very good thermal design. Fortunately, our youngsters, we teach, there are enough software, enough tools. There are undergraduate students, we teach them how to do thermal design, mechanical design, and the BMS kind of thing. And there are 40 startups which are doing this. 3 years, 4 years back, we are behind like anything. It was the Germans who were ahead, the best. Then there were Chinese and Americans. Today, there are many in India which are doing as good a battery design. The second problem is a little more complex, cell manufacturing. They are not there. There is enough work going on. We keep on hearing ISRO is coming up with a cell. At what density? 130 watt-hour per kg. That's not the future cell. That's the cell of the past. We need something which is 300 watt-hour per kg. In lab, we need, if you're talking about lab, we need 350 watt-hour per kg. So we don't have it. Well, India is a large market. We can entice people to come and do a joint venture with us, set up factories, and we are attempting to do that. The next important thing will be material. What will you do about material? Lithium, cobalt, manganese, nickel, and graphite. I spent time to look whether we have it in India. We have very little. So people told me the first thing that what happens when all this is pointed out, the bureaucrats become very happy. And now they are got it. So continue with oil vehicles. There is no point in becoming dependent on this. But we said, well, what can we do? Every cell phone today is using lithium-ion battery. We dump 300 million such batteries every year. Take these batteries, extract lithium, manganese, cobalt, nickel, and graphite from them. Unfortunately, there are enough people who have done work of extracting up to 90% of the material profitably. We have lots of laptops, and soon we'll have vehicle batteries. Once they are used up, you take it, and all that we need is a policy that every battery will be traceable and must be recycled. With that, recycling will flourish. It will be called urban mining, because in urban areas we are actually getting this material out. Already there are people who are doing it. If this is what we do, we can win in India. In this, we should become the world's best. We should become the leader. We should even get the battery anybody is throwing. It's a wealth. Buy it, bring it here, and do this. We need to become urban mining capital. All that it requires is a will. Saying we will do it, and we can do it. There are enough people who will find the technology. Already there is enough technology. Efficient regeneration. In a vehicle, you accelerate. That time you use energy. Then you decelerate. You come down there. You decelerate. Fortunately, the motor will become a generator. That's called regeneration. And you can take that energy back to the battery. That's called regeneration. Do we have technology for that? Can we make a regeneration efficiency 90%? I don't even know whether theoretically it is possible. Today we are doing 20%. Can we make it 40%, 50%, 80%, 60%? This is again a challenge, technical challenge. There is nobody who has told me it cannot be done. Nobody knows how to do it. But that's a happy problem. So this is something that we need to accelerate. Other materials for lightweighting, better insulation, vehicle control software, better tire. Can we redesign IC engine battery? Develop strong R&D. Encourage electricity production from renewables. We don't want to do all this and then finally produce electricity from coal. Fortunately, solar electricity and wind electricity in India is cheaper or has less cost as coal. 2.50 rupees per kilowatt hour. Only problem is solar energy is available when sun is up there, when God wants it, not when it is not there. But see, you are creating lots of batteries now. Once you are creating batteries, this can be stored. In fact, the battery once it is a second-hand battery after it has been used, electric vehicles can be used for storage. So once you have storage, you can go fully renewables. But that's what India needs. Can we, new technologies. I don't want to end with this. Fuel cells, distributed motors without permanent magnets. What do you do with heavy trucks? There are lots of issues that needs to be solved. But I think let's solve what is solvable today. We'll solve them tomorrow. And keep watching for new technology. Don't get stuck. Be a nation which will make the best automotive system. What I have not answered is what do we do of our congestion. That's another thing that we need to do, but I did. So, times of sense in 4 years' time will be flooded by imported materials, Chinese system. 2 years, we have done a huge amount of work. Now we need to go year after year. What can we achieve in 1 year? What can we achieve in 2 years? How does industry and R&D labs work together? How does academia work? How do startups work? We need to figure these things out. We seem to have lots and lots of suspicion all the time. If this works with this, what will happen? Let's do it. Let's make a mistake. I don't care if somebody makes a little bit of money. Let us win in India. Let's make in India. Focus on R&D, startup. I wish you were still there and made this a focus and make it. Question is, can we do it by 2030? We will do it. This is a question that often is asked in the media. Oh, how can you do it so fast? 2030 it will happen. It will happen probably sooner. If you want more information, there are two codes. So one, and I think these slides can be circulated to whoever it wants. These slides are open for circulation, but if you write to me, I can send you more details. There is a IEEE Electrification magazine, December of 2018. We wrote a fairly big article on what the India strategy is, more or less in line with what I presented, but gets into details. And I have a blog called Understanding the EV Elephant. It's all on electric vehicles. Now, why this Understanding the EV Elephant, electric vehicle elephant? I remember reading a story, all of you must have remembered, 7 blind men and the elephant. All of you remember 7 blind men and the elephant? That 7 blind men goes and tries to figure out what the elephant is, and one of them touches the tail and thinks the elephant is like that. Another touches the tusk and the elephant is like that. Now about 1.5 to 2 years back, when we had 1.5 years back, when we had thought that we were getting things aligned and everything was moving well in the government, I was there in Delhi trying to drive this, and industry was getting aligned. Suddenly, in almost a few days, everything started collapsing. And people started pointing fingers, you are wrong, what you have done is not right, this, that. And I realized that there were 7 departments in the government of India. Ministry of Power, Ministry of Heavy Industry, Ministry of this, Ministry of that. Each one of them say, electric vehicle is my work. And officers from each of them thought they knew electric vehicles. And one of them was pushing it in this direction, in that direction. So very disturbed, because everything was getting destroyed, whatever gains we had done. And then I remembered this story, 7 blind men and the elephant. Because everyone, what has happened, none of them really understood electric vehicles. But they will go and visit somewhere, and somebody will see a Tesla and say, oh, that's what we need. Somebody will go to Japan and see another vehicle, that's what we need. And everybody was driving policy in that manner. So, a little bit disturbed in terms of what can we do. Often, sometimes, it was some depressing time. I almost for 3-4 days was worried that, oh, are we going to lose all of this, whatever we have done? And we said, well, no. What can I do immediately? And to a professor, what can he do when things go wrong? Well, professor can start writing. And that's the time I created this blog called Understanding the EV Elephant. There's some 13 to 14 articles. I have not updated it recently, but it goes through every aspect of how India can win. So if those of you are interested, you can do this. Thank you. And if you have questions, you can ask questions. If I run out of time, roll out. Well, I have 5 more minutes. Yes.
Sir, is there a possibility to convert the presently available vehicles to hybrid vehicles?
First of all, I am not in favor of hybrid vehicle. Hybrid basically means a petrol engine and electric engine. There is no reason to go through the intermediate phase. Let's go straight to electric. Can you convert the present vehicle from petrol vehicle to electric vehicle? Sure, one can. Except, you get different kind of vehicle with different. Trying to do retrofitting is a significant amount of complex work. So, today at a very early stage, I think we should do it. We should build our new vehicles, understand every component, able to make 1 million motors ourselves. That will not give you 1 million motors of a certain size and this. Once we have got our hands wet and start making it, and every subsystem gets created in volume, then retrofitting can become a very, very good business. But if you start today, you will either do a very poor quality or you will land up making it expensive. And whole focus will go on to that, and that will not be desirable.
So one more question.
Quick, because
Yeah. So like over the time, people will realize that EV has its own advantages. So they will think of skipping. Turning from the regular vehicles to the EV vehicles. So what will happen to all these vehicles which are
well,
going to be
most
down?
of the vehicles have a lifetime of 7 years, 8 years. They will fade away. New vehicles, electric vehicles will come. I'm not saying that overnight the vehicles will disappear. Let them be there.
No.
But let's say by 2035, 2040, we will have no petrol vehicle. They will go away.
What will happen to these vehicles? They're going to be just dumped as like.
Well, today what is happening to the old vehicles? I bought a Bajaj Chetak in 1983, was it 84? And I drove it for 30 years, 35 years. I was very sad that I no longer am driving. Every part I have changed, but at some point in time, I even converted it to electric. But that was very difficult, fitting all the electric parts into that. So, well, it gets dumped. I went and talked to Bajaj, and they said, well, all our Bajaj Chetak of 1985 have all gone. There is nothing left. Now, can you reuse the steel? Can you reuse? Yes, all of that is reused.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, one name. Then you speak loudly. Quickly, I have less time. I have to go out.
We all know that the current petrol vehicles cause pollution problem. But if we move to electric vehicles, will there be any problem of radiation?
No, there is no radiation problem. There is none, I think. Yes, question.
Yeah, I was wondering if in your studies, case studies, did you look at fleet services?
You want to look at?
Fleet services?
Yes,
So, like,
fleet service is the first
so
place where electric vehicle adoption is very, very rapid. We have been doing that. That's the first place large number of vehicles are getting converted. That's the first win.
Are you dealing with the corporations or more the state and local?
We are dealing with companies like, for example, Zomato delivers this.
That's what
Swiggy. So Zomato and Swiggy wants it.
Exactly.
There are companies which actually do corporate people movement. Those things are all becoming electrified. That's a will happen in next year. Yeah.
Even like cities, urban electricity pricing, which are like very slab, would it be like economical?
So in the beginning, of course, we want. See, the basic generation cost today is 2 rupees 50 paise, and I think I have done all my calculation at 5 rupees, which is 5 rupees per unit, which is very, very doable in the country. Of course, India's electricity system is the mess, so sometimes they charge more. But even tomorrow, once the battery prices further come down, you charge at 8 rupees, it doesn't matter. Today it costs you 7 rupees per kilometer to drive a car. It costs me only 60 paise per kilometer. So if the electricity price goes from 5 to 8 rupees, it costs me 80 paise per kilometer, 90 paise per kilometer. Still, we are much less than 7 rupees. So I don't think electricity prices really matter. The price doesn't make impact too much. But they say your 100 rupees will be available when you dispose of the battery. I think that very simple thing will make it. It requires a regulation that I will not allow you to dump a battery in a garbage. That is all that is required. Okay. Thank you. Yes, one last question. Yeah, you can even. I mean, if the people in the conference want and those who are organizing it, we can take you to the battery center just across this building, and we can take you to the research park where things are going on. We'll give you a ride on electric vehicles with swappable battery. You had something else?
Oh, I just was saying, like recycling cans, where you get 5 cents back. So
Pardon?
you get incentives. So if you return the battery.
Yeah, so to turn the battery and so on. I think all those things can go down. Thank you very much.